And we are live. Hello, everyone. It's been a long time since we actually gathered in this group, having all three of us. And today we have Guilherme. Would you introduce yourself?
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Guilherme Ferreira. I'm a principal consultant at FivexL. Glad to be here with you guys to have some discussions.
Microphone to Vlad.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Vladimir Samoilov, and I think it will be happy for us to do what we do today.
Andrey is my name. As you can read, the rest of the information is also on the screen. And today we do reInvent recap. So for those people living in a cave, there is a big annual conference of AWS. I mean, like if you have anything to do with AWS and you go into LinkedIn, there is no way you're missing it because everyone posting announcements, there are photos from Las Vegas. This year we didn't go, but we're gonna recap you anyway because we spent time carefully reading all the announcements, and there were a lot, so don't expect us covering all of it. So it will be a peaks of what we think is important and what we think you should be paying attention to. Anything to add, guys, before we get going?
I just wanted to say that what happens in Vegas is stay in Vegas, but it's not the case here, right? We are just sharing everything with everybody. Not everything, but part of it. Right?
As usually, as we do.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go.
Let's do it. The slides, please. Here they are. So there are a number of announcements that we think we should mention no matter what because they're important. And one of them is Amazon Aurora DSQL, which stands for Distributed SQL, which technically gives you a database that can span across regions with multiple masters that you can write. What they had before was a global database where you would have a master where you write, like the writer node, in one region, but then can very, very quickly to fall back to other regions and update the writer endpoint. Like there was even announcements that you don't need to change the writer endpoint. So it was useful, but you wouldn't have this global database. If you would need to write from multiple regions simultaneously, you would have a problem, or you would have to write cross regions. And now they did solve it. If you heard about Google Spanner, so I think it's a take of it. And to people I talk, they say, yeah, like we felt that this is where Amazon was a little bit lagging behind Google, like in databases, having somewhat global database. Well, there is a cap theorem that you cannot fool. I mean, that's like physics, but yeah. Here we are. Anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, we can add that it's unlimited scale. It's basically the continued expansion of a serverless things inside AWS, and I hope it's a true serverless. A true serverless thing's supposed to scale to zero. It's what people expect. But as we know, what serverless v2, Aurora serverless v2 is able to scale to zero. So I think here we expect the same in the future someday. And I think another important part, same Andrey mentioned, is like it's active writing and scaling of this writer instance. Because in the past, someone struggled with the writing scaling. Because scaling to readers, it's already the common thing with Aurora. But scaling to writer, it's quite interesting, the global writer.
But people, so it's a preview, and which means that it comes with a lot of limitations. So open the documentation and read through the limitation. We don't have time on this recording to walk you through, and we haven't tested it, but definitely on my list to test it actually, because I know a couple of customers who would really benefit from it. So we will keep you updated. We had this episode with Vlad talking about databases, and we will record more about databases, and that will be a part of those series because databases are hard, and people always spend a lot of time and effort managing them. Should we move on? Databases again. So Dynamo DB is a NoSQL database, and they had the global database, which you could do writes in a multiple regions simultaneously, but it didn't have a strong consistency, which they now have. which quite impressive, I would say. And if you are selecting database, actually Dynamo DB is quite a good choice if you don't really need to have the relations. Not much to say about it. So the great database gets even better.
Yes, well, I guess, that's something I mentioned. I guess if you don't need a relationship database, but even if you need relation database, you can do it inside, the Aurora thing. But some of the data can come inside DynamoDB. It's not need to be exactly one database for everything. So have
it's
an
smart.
option.
All right, shall we move on? A means that it's my segment and that's my peaks. And so I worked a lot with Control Tower, IFT, and AWS organization during this year, because we're building our productized service, we have it, but we're constantly improving it, which is a landing zone called Right Start for AWS. And I was very interested to see declarative policies. So when you're deploying your landing zone, your AWS organization, when you're provisioning accounts, you want to ensure that certain level of baseline in your accounts. You want to disable certain things. So now AWS gives you a possibility to just have one place where you tick it off and it's set for all of your accounts. Let's move on. So it still supports a limited set of resources. Another nice thing of it provides you a report of where it and how it's set. So definitely something to look out if you're dealing with a governance at scale at AWS. Even if you just have 3 or 4 accounts, that will be useful. So definitely something on my list, and I will be playing with it shortly and report to you. Let's move on. This is an extract from the data perimeter white paper by AWS. Google that. But I'm showing it to you because I think this picture captures the announcement of RCP, which is Resource Control Policy, very nicely. Because you've probably seen that picture of IAM decision evaluation, how it goes, and there are so many branches it can go. It is really complex. And now they're adding more policies into it, making it even more complex. So, and another thing that you can think we have service control policy and resource control policy. They kind of sound the same. Should I use one or should I use another? Should I use a combination of them? And this picture very nicely show you what is the difference and how you can use it. So the primary difference is that secure control, service control policy applies to the principals within your organization. So you can limit principals within your organization, but you cannot limit principals outside of your organization. And this is what RCP is for. So you can think about that as a global S3 bucket policy that can prevent everyone from outside of your organization accessing your bucket. Something like that. And it as well supports a limited number of resources just yet. I believe that the number of resources supported will grow, but it's definitely something that would be very, very beneficial and complementary to existing SCPs. So take a look at that. Let's move on. And finally, we are moving to networking. So you was able to share VPC, and you wasn't really sharing VPC. You was sharing subnets using Resource Access Manager. But then the missing piece was that then the account that receives those subnets, it needs to create its own security groups, which just kind of defeats the purpose of the centrally managing networking. So with this one, you could now create security groups centrally and share them to the accounts. And that actually makes you it's opened up a possibility for you to manage networking centrally. So again, the multi-account strategy, think you have your networking account where your networking people define the rules, VPC networking, and then they can share the subnets and VP and security groups to workload accounts where your developers could be admins if they want to, and they still cannot change the network settings. So that will simplify your IAM immensely, because you don't need to think about what developers can change, what network people can change. They now sit in their separate boxes and they just pass the things that they configure over the border, and they're not changeable on another side, which is really, really nice. So definitely I'm going to be using that one. It's kind of a small thing for some people, but I'm really excited about this one. Let's move on. AWS Privatelink now supports cross-region connectivity. You might be thinking what it is AWS Privatelink. I tell you, AWS Privatelink is the way majority, if not all, of the SaaS providers on AWS Marketplace and outside it provide their services on AWS. Like if you want to buy hosting from someone, they can host it in their own account and then give you access to your VPC through AWS Privatelink. So their service will pop up as a ENI in your VPC, and you can call them directly without leaving the VPC. So you're not traversing the internet. So it's almost like you're hosting it yourself, but they're doing it for you. But at the same time, you don't let them into your VPC. So it was very, very popular. And the drawback was that it was a regional thing. So you would need to host resources in that region to make it available for the customer in the same region. So you would be dependent from the customer, where the customer is. And if you're serving the limited geography, like for instance Sweden, you have one data center in Sweden, one region in Sweden, you kind of fine, you cannot miss it, though still your customers might be in Frankfurt, or like if you're in the US, there are only 4 regions. But with this one, you don't care. The traffic goes cross-region will incur additional costs, so be mindful about that. There are ways to calculate that. But that's something that was announced pre-reInvent, so you can see it's 1 week before reInvent. There was like a slew of announcements coming in. But still, I'm quite excited because I'm using that a lot, and I see a lot of customers benefiting from this one. Plus, another thing that they announced, I don't have the slide for it, but ELSA AWS Privatelink now allows you to share more resources. Before that, VPC Privatelink was only able to share your network load balancer. So you would connect the service to, you basically share your network load balancer, and then you can attach stuff behind it. Now there is many more things on VPC that you can share. So technically you can have your database in another account and share that with the VPC privately. If you want to. I don't know if you would, but
it's a kind of create
now you can.
Opportunity for people who are responsible for security. Now we have to check more things, because now database can expose it in another way as well.
That's basically another way of stealing your data.
Yeah, more way to check.
Why
we have this the resource control policy and VPC, GuardRails, so on. So it's everything have a reason.
Yeah. So there were other announcements which didn't make my list, but they might make the list of G.
It's me. Let's go for it.
GeForce.
GeForce, yes. Amazon Q is the AI coding companion that AWS offers. I use this on my daily basis, and it's free for individuals, which is very good, right? So you can start using if you don't use it. I use GitHub Copilot, but also the Amazon Q. So I highly recommend you to install if you didn't. And one of the announcements is Amazon Q now can now automate code reviews, right? You can, from your IDE, Visual Studio and the IntelliJ IDEs, you can just run the command and Amazon Q will just review your code, right? It's very good because you have like an automated companion that can review the things you are writing. So it can give you feedback and can point to potential problems, and then you fix it before you commit, right? It's important because one friend of mine just asked me, okay, but is this like the code review that happens in the Git repository? No, it happens in your machine, and then you can fix before sending to your Git repository. So it's very nice. I haven't tried yet, but I will be trying this out in a couple of days. And it's for free, which is very good. Amazon Q has a business license That is, I think it's quite expensive for startups or for small companies, but for Amazon, for developer, the free version is very good. Andrey?
We have a business subscription for Amazon Q if you want to. I can hook you in.
It's always good to have the boss. Yes.
And then people might be asking. I think everyone now asking, like, if you're using Copilot and Amazon Q, how would you compare those two in a couple of?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it depends on the topic, right? Sometimes I feel like Amazon Q is not too precise as GitHub Copilot, because in the IDE, what I like is the context, right? When you're, for example, if you open like ChatGPT in a separate tab, you have to provide the context, and then it's going to give you the answers. Inside of your IDE is inside of the context. So now, if you have like a file that is open, and then you ask, and then you see the answers, right? Sometimes I feel like GitHub Copilot is better with some programming language, especially Python. That's my 2 cents, right? But Amazon Q is getting better. So I think the model is being trained. So I'm kind of torn. I don't have a strong opinion towards.
Yeah, but where's the frameworks which compare LLMs? And there's the LLMs arena for open source models and also for private source as well. And I think maybe we will find Amazon Q things as well there, and we will add the links below to arena and to a framework if someone want to dig even deeper. Compare LLMs.
What I would like to suggest is use both. If you can buy, of course, a GitHub Copilot and see which one is best for your project, right? Don't take it with a grain of salt, because it all depends on your context, your code, and your experience as well, right? How you interrogate the model. That's also important, right? Great. Next one, please. Still Amazon Q can now generate documentation with your source code. It's also very good because I think, who likes to write documentation, right? No, nobody likes. It's also a pain because you developed, you delivered, and then you have like somebody from your team, where can I find the documentation for this solution? And we never have it. But documentation are important even for ourselves, right, in the future, because you write something today, and after like 3-4 months, you completely forget what you implemented. So documentation is important, and of course, to share with your colleagues. So that's why I've been using this kind of automation tools, code companions, because they can do the boring stuff, right? So I don't like it, so I use the tool to automate stuff, and then I review it. So now Amazon Q developer can generate the source code. It creates README files. So it's very promising. Of course, during a reInvent, they demo it. It works, but I think we should be using this in our projects, right? In the real world, not in the nice slide presentation at reInvent. So I'm also planning to try this out with our source code and see how is the output. Another thing not related to Amazon Q now, AWS Transfer Family is an existing service, it's not a new service, but basically provides you with SFTP, FTPS, FTP connectivity. So you can use it, for example, to transfer file to an SFTP destination. You can also create infrastructure to receive files, right? You can be the receiver or the sender. But before reInvent, you had to develop some automation on top of it, right? So you had to use the AWS Transfer Family to create like the SFTP server, for example, but then you would need to instrument this in a way that your final customer could use. But now AWS just launched the web apps. So it's basically an UI that you connect to AWS Transfer Family, and then your customer will have access to a UI where they can drop files, they can receive files, they can download files, which is useful. Configuring an SFTP from scratch is easy to, well, it's not recommended anymore because you have to maintain, have to patch, you have to do all this stuff. So it's a good addition from my perspective. It's a good addition to the AWS Transfer family, because now you can use managed service right from AWS end to end, including the UI. So inside of FivexL, we have a customer that is potentially interested in this service. So we're going to be using a real world scenario very shortly. Andrey?
I actually learned recently that SFTP and FTPS are two different things.
Yes.
And one of them provides static IP addresses if you need the customer to whitelist or allow list, if you like, the IP addresses, and another one doesn't. So find out which one for yourself by reading documentation, but it's kind of confusing, and everyone confuses them because like there's SFTP and FTPS.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Basically, it's FTPS is over a secure, like an SSL, right? And SFTP is over SSH.
SSH,
yeah. The main difference is an old technology, by the way, right? But it's still used across a lot of, especially enterprises, right? SE enterprises,
yes,
exchanging files through SFTP.
All the time.
All the time, yes.
Related to that new, we can also mention that it's web apps were integrated with IAM Identity Center and S3 grants. It allows us to share with one AWS Transfer family to multiple things, because in the past we have to create many of them actually to do the same thing. So it's a way how to utilize, because some of customers, they just have to use it because of big or enterprise who communicate in that way, and they have the tiny communication. So now we can share the service.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, great. Next one, S3 tables. So people working with data lake stuff are super happy with this announcement because now S3 has like I would say a special bucket type where you can put your Parquet files, and it's fully managed Apache Iceberg tables. So if you're running analytics on AWS, and probably you have like your Parquet files on an S3 bucket, and then you put Athena on top of it, maybe you're using Glue to transform your data and host on S3. Now we have like a new option. S3 tables will enable your bucket, right? And you can use this in a more native way. And you can also add some row level transactions. The protection is different because you have like the table level permissions to manage your data. So a lot of more, would say, specific features related to Apache Iceberg tables that we didn't have. S3 was being used only as a storage for the tables, but now has a specific bucket type, which is very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people will be doing with this new feature. But when I was following the announcements, a lot of colleagues of mine, they are from the analytics side, they were super happy with this announcement. So I wanted to bring this up. And if you're planning to use it, please let us know, because we are interested to know more about that as well. Anything here, guys? V. Now I have a V. Vlad.
Data.
Yeah, it's the central for me also. Yeah, it's for security part. It's Amazon GuardDuty that introduced new feature, and interesting moment that feature is free and available for everyone. It just enabled for all of us. And it's when AI come to security. It means GuardDuty will use artificial intelligence and machine learning to actually go inside your signals and understand which one are critical, which not. And it's come with a all new nice UI. If you're already using GuardDuty, just check it out. If not, GuardDuty offer a first 30 days trial, so you can enable it and see is it for you or not. And I think it's also have an integrations with other services. So, and one more we can mention here, it's you don't need to enable all things from the GuardDuty, just enable the basic and you already get that feature of extended threat detection. So just come, that's it, we get it. Any comments? No? The next one, please. For Amazon Bedrock GuardRails, but before, it means same. It's actually related to another thing which usually happen inside European Union, but we can tell like as GuardRails first they become much more cheaper than before. The first one, and second one, AWS try to detect all the. They not want anyone offended by AI. It's how I'm looking at this. It means that we can add some GuardRails more and more and make AI more secure. For this case, it's for image content. It means saying we not want Bedrock generate some images which offend someone, which is not good. So, and GuardRails will be also useful for another thing. Can be the next one. Next slide, please. Yes, it's an AI Pact. It's a why you don't have an AI inside your iPhone if your region is European Union. It's because of AI Pact. And I think that AWS is going to make AI for Europe. And it's what other companies doesn't. So it's kind of sad why European Union is a big part of the world. So why not? And GuardRails is very important, especially if you would like to do business with AI. It means you need to add some safeguards for AI not offend your end users, AI not expose the critical data. So, and I think in the future it will allow to pass all of these AI regulations in Europe. The next one. I think everyone talk about it a lot, about Amazon Nova Foundation models, which are available. And someone mentioned that it's kind of a cheapest model, especially the micro one. Maybe it will. It's not only the cheapest. I think it will be the model with the lowest latency. So maybe sometime it's important to get like a first response when someone just talk with AI and they wait so long and they give up and they don't want to wait and they go and use another service. So Amazon Nova Micro can help to get the first answer. When people just ask AI, how are you, what are you doing, and some questions but not supposed to be asked. But small models can help and can do it much more faster and provide a better user experience. So, and I also heard that Apple and AWS make some kind of deal. It was announced during the reInvent. And I kind of wondering which models iPhones used. Something that's supposed to be fast and answering in a low time and at a low cost because no one want to pay a lot. So who knows? And someone can try to compare the Amazon Nova Micro and Lite with whatever iPhone can do. Maybe you get a similar response. No, try it out. The next one. Amazon Marketplace, Bedrock Marketplace. We already know about the Ollama, and Ollama help us to run very different models. Just Ollama run, and you get models locally in many of them. And I think the marketplaces are kind of brings more people to the markets, not just OpenAI, Anthropic Cloud, and that's it. Amazon Bedrock try to bring more people to the market and more competitors on the market. It means a better product at end for end consumers. So in a marketplace, you can find many more. And it also kind of mean that if you have any kind of your own model, you can put it inside the marketplace, I believe, and share with the world. So it's kind of a way how we can interact with the different models in the future, which is quite nice because for different needs it's required different models. Like as different models for like as knowledge databases, for make vectors, different for GuardRails, different for like code suggestions for autocomplete, for example. If you're a developer and you're writing the code and you're wondering like what does magic happen when I type and it's add more code automatically, it's autocomplete models and they're different. It's not just a OpenAI for all or Amazon Nova. It's a different models which train it specifically for suggest the code. So can be next one. Oh, the custom connectors. Yes, more for Bedrock. And Bedrock knowledge based are nice because of connectors. And it allows us to connect different type of data and use it together with Bedrock, which is very important in case of private data. For example, with the connectors, you can connect the Google Drive, GitHub, and many other data sources which your companies already have, which is quite nice because it's not just the default things that you can expect from AWS. The custom connectors help you to build like a more complex application. So it's for that one. And I guess we have something else, right? Security incident response. It's not related to AI, but it's kind of interesting in terms of achieving that 24/7 security incident response. And some compliances, they need that. And maybe you have a small team who can't cover the 24/7. And maybe it's a good way to ask AWS to leverage your team. Because this security incident response, it's allow AWS to look at inside the security incidents. So they can look at your GuardDuty alerts, the firewall events, whatever happened inside VPC logs, inside web application firewall, and inside all across of this fancy AWS security services. But with that service, you can simply pass the compliance because you can say, oh, okay, AWS is take care about our security 24/7, it's done. But in the future, yes, of course, you will find another solution, you will find your own team and so on, you will grow. But for now, it could be a solution. So, and
bonus. So, yeah, there were many more announcements, and AWS is going to share the PDF with key announcements that will be available from December 16. By scanning that QR code, you can get it, and that's your reward for watching till the end. Guilherme is already doing that. I think that would be it for the services we wanted to share. Again, there were many more. I mean, we cannot cover everything within 32 minutes already. But those are the top picks and the stuff that we're going to be already using, like for instance with GuardDuty, Advanced Threat Intelligence. We're already using it. We already got it. So
magically, it just happened.
I like this kind of security. Anything to add, Guilherme?
I don't think so. I like the 2024 reinvent. I think it was less theoretical and more things that we can use, right? Less UI, AI stuff like.
Yeah, last year was all about AI.
Yes.
It was kind of hard to find the meat behind AI, but this year was quite good.
This year, you know what AWS do? They first do like a important announcement related to the services, and after the AI stuff in the next days. So it was a kind of nice move.
Yeah, but also one thing that happens with AWS, and I think it's getting a bit worse, I would say, there are a lot of overlaps because Vlad was mentioning Bedrock, and you have SageMaker, right? So you have like marketplace for Bedrock, but you also have like a Hugging Face. So a lot of different options. You can achieve the same goal with different strategies, right?
Right.
And yeah, it's becoming more not complex, but you need to know your way, right? How to implement stuff in a balancing out, especially costs, right? You need to be careful with things. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I guess this is how innovation goes and evolution goes. Like if you have one way, it would stagnate or it might go in the wrong direction. If you have multiple ways, one of them might evolve in the best way, otherwise will die off. So, the nature of evolution. And it might be hard for a CTO, for instance, who is building a startup to do all the technology bets with all this buffet of choices available. But, call us, we'll help you.
I like the buffet. I like it. Huh?
Everyone likes buffet.
You
Even people
don't
who
like
doesn't admit to that.
You don't like when they give you the bunch of blocks without a picture how it's supposed to look. Not like that one. You like the buffet thing. Okay, let's call it a buffet. It's better.
Chinese buffet will give you a meat and everything and boiling plate, and you just throw it all together.
Cool. Well,
all right. I think that was it. Thank you for tuning in, and most probably we see each other in the new 2025 year. So enjoy the holidays.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you.